My go-to stress buster would be to kind of lock my doors of my room and just dance like a crazy person, right? Or it would look like going for badminton. So there's always some element of movement that is always present.
As far as I understand, that happens at a very deeper level, the conditioning of I am not good enough, or my body doesn't look physically attractive, or I am not looking the way I want to or I wish to. Maybe the supermodel or the bodybuilder that I aspire to look like, even though one's body may be really close to that, they don't feel like it is. So how does one go about rewiring that thought process?
And the food is always going to be the worst kind of actually I should not say the worst kind of food, because the good and the bad food labels are also what propels this whole thing. But it is going to be food that should be eaten maybe in moderation. Fatty foods, chocolates and chips and all of those things, which is perfectly okay if you are eating it not out of emotional eating, but just because you're going out, you're enjoying with friends, and it's okay to have that. But when you're doing it out of binging, first of all, you will never stop at 5 chips. You will always finish the whole bag. Absolutely. And it is definitely not easy showing up for an event at 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning when you're used to living the opposite kind of lifestyle, when you're used to waking up at 12, or you're used to having a late Saturday night. So it really helps shift your lifestyle as well in very subtle, small ways. But when I reframe discipline to devotion, that is when everything shifts.
Welcome to the Fit for Life podcast by PowerMax. I am your host Atharva Shah, and this is the premiere episode for the podcast. We are going to do this because we really believe that fitness is for everyone, and our mission, Fit for Life, is something that we really want to spread to the masses, and that's why we're going to bring on some lovely guests. Before I introduce today's guest, I would really request each and every one of you to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future uploads. And without further ado, let me introduce today's lovely guest, Aditi Goyal. Welcome to the show, Aditi.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you for being on. So, Aditi, I know who you are. Most of our audience knows who you are. But for the ones who don't, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and how did you end up here?
So, well, in a very short line, I am a psychologist and a coach, and I love helping people basically live their best life through growth, healing, transformation, things like manifestation, all of those things combined. But what really got me into this field in the first place was the whole mind-body connection. And that actually goes back to my own struggle with asthma as a child. Where nothing really worked, no Ayurvedic, no allopathic, nothing really gave me any sort of healing, and I was under a lot of restrictions until I read about this whole concept of the mind-body connection and how what you think and your stress levels and your emotions have a very big impact on your body. And from there I began sort of working on it, and that's how I started in this field, and I love it. Yeah.
That's absolutely one of the fields to be in 2026. The world is rapidly understanding the need for better mental health, and that is where someone like you come in. What's your fitness journey been like? And when I say fitness journey, it doesn't have to be physical, nor does it have to be exclusively mental, because as we know that fitness exists on a continuum, and it's more of a holistic approach when we look at it as mental as well as physical. So can you tell us a bit about your fitness journey?
So I think I've always been into not fitness but into sports as a child. I always loved playing cricket, I loved playing badminton. I think it was a way that I kept myself sane basically. Movement was something that kept me sane. And I mean, eventually I did start with gym and proper strength training and cardio and all of those things. So I think I've always just naturally gravitated towards movement. I would say not fitness, not anything in particular, but movement in general, because it always helps me de-stress. My go-to stress buster would be to kind of lock my doors of my room and just dance like a crazy person, right? Or it would look like going for badminton. So there's always some element of movement that is always present. But I think how I got a little more deeper into fitness and more particular about it was when I went for a trek. So I went for a one-day trek in Maharashtra. It was Bhima Shankar, and I realized that my cardio capacity was not the best, and I really had to, do a lot of work into it because I enjoy treks and I wanted to make sure that I'm not struggling with every step I take. So that is when I started really focusing on a very structured kind of fitness thing, if you would, call it that. But otherwise, I've always been into fitness. It's just something that I can't stay without. If I'm traveling for a week and I'm not able to work out, I can feel the difference in my mental health, and I'm just like, something is missing. Like, it doesn't feel complete.
Yeah, no, I completely resonate with that. Not moving your body has so many downsides, and not just physical but mental as well. Can you talk a little bit about how physical movement ties into mental health and not necessarily direct mental health work to improve that space, but how just improving at a physical level will have a profound impact on the mental side of things?
Well, there are actually so many factors to that about how physical fitness can lead to mental fitness. But on a very general level, I think so many people have felt that difference after working out. They're just instantly happy, right? Because of the endorphins that are released. So it's, of course, that immediate after effect of working out. But that over a long period of time also leads to elevated levels of happiness, because you are really running on those happy hormones. But to go a little bit deeper, it's also that sense of that if I'm being consistent with working out, if I'm going to the gym regularly, I also build a sense of confidence in myself. I am building trust in myself that I make a promise and I follow up on it. So that makes me more confident in myself. My self-esteem goes up. Versus if I make a promise that, okay, I'm going to, do this, and then I don't do it constantly all the time, then that also sort of reduces your self-confidence, essentially. Other than that, of course, it's also to some extent your body changes when you work out, right? Not in any extreme cases where it's extreme weight loss or extreme weight gain, but just generally you start feeling good about yourself, about the way you look. Your clothes might start feeling better. Again, it leads to a confidence boost. So there are actually just so many ways that it can really tie into mental health. Another very interesting thing is if you're going to the gym, you're meeting so many people, right? And you're making new friends, and the loneliness aspect is kind of taken care of. Or you're going for pickleball and you're meeting again new people. So there's a social component to it as well, that you don't feel cooped up, you don't feel alone. You feel that you have someone to talk to, even if it's just chit chat. So there are actually just so many factors that it ties into.
Absolutely. There is such a big social aspect when it comes to fitness, especially post-COVID. Pre-COVID, everyone was siloed into their own niches. But after COVID, there has been this sense of community and belonging when it comes to various fitness components, whether it be conventional strength training in the gym, or if we have things like high rocks that have come up. The CrossFit community has always been there, and people are really finding this a place where they can actually go and yes, they can improve their physical health, but sometimes that doesn't even become the primary benefit they derive from that. That almost becomes something that happens on its own, just because of the fact that they were able to be there along with fellow like-minded people. Yeah.
So just to add to that, when I was training for dance movement therapy, the biggest takeaway I think, or something that just stuck with me, was when my teacher told me that moving together is the easiest way to connect. So whether it's in corporates, whether it's in friends, if you're moving together, the connection that you will build with them is far more greater, far more stronger than doing any other activity together.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about dance movement therapy, what you just mentioned, in case our audience doesn't know what it is?
So dance movement therapy is essentially, it is not, first of all, it's not dance, it's not choreography, it's not Zumba, it is movement. Movement according to what your body feels like doing. So I will move according to what I feel like moving. I'm not going to follow a structure. I'm not going to follow something that has been, choreographed. I'm just going to allow my body to express. So it's more of an expression modality through movement. And of course, it has a host of benefits, from just as simple as reducing stress, to improving connection between team members, to healing body image, and to healing much more deeper psychological issues as well.
You mentioned body image, and this is something that I would say most people struggle with. Not if not at a deep level, definitely at a surface level. Not everyone has the awareness that it's even there for themselves, but we see this even with people who have what we traditionally call an aesthetic physique, who have done the work, who have trained themselves for years and have really put in the work that it takes to get to a good physique, and they still have that body dysmorphia, right? And they struggle with what they look like in the mirror. Others may not agree. Others think they look fabulous, but they themselves feel like they're still behind. And it's almost coming from this mindset of not being enough. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I think you already summed it up pretty well, that it is coming from that place of not being good enough, right? And that is exactly why people will lose weight or gain weight if that is their goal. They will change their bodies basically, and they will still have that feeling of, this is still not okay. I still need to be doing more. I still need to be looking a certain way. This is something that I struggled with as well. I was never in the obese category. I was never overweight, but I still felt this heaviness, or I still felt that I needed to lose some weight, and I did. And the insecurity didn't go away, right? It still stayed. It's still the voice in the head going that you still need to do more, you still need to lose more weight, didn't disappear. So that is why sometimes I feel that people are chasing the wrong thing by wanting to change their bodies, right? Because even though the body will change, if you don't do the mental work of telling yourself that your looks are not as important as other things, they are not as important as the amount of work your body is doing for you day in and day out. It's keeping you alive, it's digesting food, it's doing so much, and of course so many other things. So till you don't factor in that mental aspect of allowing myself to feel okay with my body, to feel confident in my body just as I am right now, it doesn't work.
That's pretty interesting, because as far as I understand, that happens at a very deeper level, the conditioning of I am not good enough, or my body doesn't look physically attractive, or I am not looking the way I want to or I wish to. Maybe the supermodel or the bodybuilder that I aspire to look like, even though one's body may be really close to that, they don't feel like it is. So how does one go about rewiring that thought process?
It is definitely a long journey. It's not something that you can do overnight. And that is why most people never get to doing it, because we want quick fixes, we want to just instantly change everything, but that's not how it works, because it is deep conditioning. It takes time. It takes time to slowly rewire your beliefs about how you look or how you feel in your body. But a very simple thing that I would probably ask someone to start with is trying to look in the mirror with neutrality. So not with positivity, right? That's what we think that we should be doing. Okay, let me go in the mirror and try to feel good about myself. But if you've been so conditioned to look in the mirror and feel bad about yourself, it's not easy to jump the gun and just feel good about it, right? That is what does more damage, because you are like, I cannot feel good about it, right? Look at my shoulders, look at my thighs, they are so big, they are so that. So you want to probably try looking at the mirror with neutrality, with this is how I look. It's not good, it's not bad, I don't know about all that. This is how I look. This is how my shoulders are, this is how my legs are, and this is just the way it is. So it is that in between step of just accepting it as it is, or being very neutral towards it, not jumping to judgment of good or bad, that then allows you to feel good about yourself in the long run.
So something you alluded to really stuck with me, where you said that you shouldn't be looking at yourself from a very positive outlook to begin with, but rather from a neutral one as a good starting point, because the conditioning is so deep about having a negative body image. And that is also something that an analogy to, if can make one, is in the physical fitness space. We always encourage people to have realistic goals and relatively smaller ones. They can definitely have their long-term goal, but if they feel like that is something that's always going to be out of reach, then even if they get close to it or they get to it, they still feel like they haven't got there. So first, we always encourage them to have smaller ones and more realistic ones, things they can achieve, that doesn't seem too hard for them. And once they get there, those wins really fuel their fire and improve their confidence level, where the so-called higher goal or the more difficult one that they were aspiring for starts becoming more achievable.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of like you want to stick to the promise you're making yourself, right? So you don't want to, if you're just starting out, you don't want to tell yourself, I'm going to go to the gym 5 times a week and then not go. Then just go twice, right? But if you tell yourself that I'm going to go to the gym twice every week, and you do that, you're still going to the gym the same amount of you're still going to the gym the same number of times, but when you're telling yourself that I'm going to go twice, you're keeping that promise to yourself, and that makes a big psychological difference than someone who's telling themselves that I'm going to go 5 times and not do that. Then that creates a lot of loss of self-trust, that क्या फ़र्क पड़ता है, मैंने तो बोला और मैंने किया नहीं, so leave it, might as well not go, right? So you want to start small, make it achievable, and then increase from there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's basically about consistency over intensity, and this is something I will always tell someone is, consistency does not mean daily. Consistency is just deciding on something and then repeating it week after week, whether that can be once a week or whether that be 7 times a week. It doesn't matter. As long as you're able to repeat that for months and years on end, that's when you're going to start identifying yourself as someone who does fitness or is doing something to improve their physical health, going to the gym, or maybe it can be on the mental health side of things as well. And you can have the most perfect training program on paper, but if you are not repeating that week on week, it isn't going to make no difference. And we do tend to make this mistake of thinking that putting it down on paper or planning it out, and confusing that with actually having done the work. but until you go and execute it, it's not going to make any difference. And I'm sure it's no different in the mental health space.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, um, can you talk a little bit about nutrition guilt? And this is something that a lot of people face on a daily basis, where there might be some sort of an emotional trigger that happens in their life, and they resort to emotional eating or binge eating, as we commonly call it, and then they spiral into this guilt mode, and as a punishment then later on try and do more exercise to burn off those calories, or the next few meals that they consume are extremely controlled and suppressed, and they really try to make those as light as possible, just to balance out the total caloric intake. How does one avoid that? And if they do somehow end up binge eating, what's the next step? How do they continue from there? Do they need to be doing this?
Yeah, I think this is such a big issue that so many people are facing, and I did as well. Um, and a lot of it is driving from the whole body image issues as well, and all we see on social media about how the ideal body looks like. And so if you don't look like that, we think we need to alter the food and things like that. So I did have a client who would resort to emotional eating anytime she would feel disconnected from her body, and she would not know this. So if it was not so much of eating out of stress or eating out of boredom, it was about something is going on in her environment that is stressing her out, and she doesn't know about it. And that unprocessed stress is actually leading to emotional eating, because I don't know what else to do to comfort myself, because I don't know what the problem is in the first place. So I resort to eating food, and the food is always going to be the worst kind of actually I should not say the worst kind of food, because the good and the bad food labels are also what propels this whole thing. But it is going to be food that should be eaten maybe in moderation. Fatty foods, chocolates and chips and all of those things, which is perfectly okay if you are eating it not out of emotional eating, but just because you're going out, you're enjoying with friends, and it's okay to have that. But when you're doing it out of binging, first of all, you will never stop at 5 chips. You will always finish the whole bag, and that is what does damage, right? It's not
Yeah.
the chips that is doing damage. It is gulping down the whole packet of chips in one sitting that does the damage, right? So but once we fixed her ability to stay embodied in her body, to stay present in her body, she was more aware of what's going on, what conversation made her feel uncomfortable, what stress is she dealing with, right? And once she knew what the stress was, it was much easier to deal with it in a healthier way, whether that meant talking to a friend, maybe journaling, maybe meditation, maybe going for a run, whatever it looked like for her. But because she had awareness of, okay, I am stressed, that makes a big difference in how you deal with it, and whether you deal with it in a healthy way or not. Yeah, right? So now another thing that often also happens is people end up under eating. And this is something that I recently realized I was doing too, because in an attempt to lose weight, the general rule is eat less, move more. And that is exactly what I was doing, and I was still not losing weight. But the food noise, the mental noise of should I eat this, should I eat that, what time should I eat, or even to the extent of moving my plans around. My plans to go for a meal or to meet a friend, I was moving that around to fit my intermittent fasting cycle. And I didn't realize how restrictive this was becoming. I didn't realize the mental toll it was taking on me, while still not getting any benefit out of it, still not losing weight, right? But the general idea is eat less, move more. But I don't think it is as simple as that. If you are significantly under eating all the time, then your body adapts. It burns way less, and then that prevents weight loss further, because now the body is feeling scarcity, right? It's like मुझे खाना तो मिल ही नहीं रहा है, तो because I'm not getting food, I might as well store everything as fat. Whatever little thing is going to come into me, I'm going to instantly store it as fat, because maybe she's out there in some danger, she's in some survival response and खाना नहीं मिल रहा है, तो let me store everything. So that does the opposite of what you want to do. So thankfully I realized this. I realized what I was doing to myself, and I stopped that. Of course, there's a whole process you want to go through if you realize this and you want to make changes. You don't want to jump and directly start eating too many calories. But the point is, you don't want to make your body feel scarcity all the time. You don't want to make your body feel like it's surviving, that it's in survival mode, that it needs to keep triggering the fight and flight mode, right? Because again, even if everything is perfect, but your body is in a survival mode, it is triggering the fight and flight response, weight loss becomes very difficult. The body will not allow weight loss to happen to a very big extent if it is in fight and flight mode, because it needs to hold on to those extra energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Even from a very physiological perspective, when you go into really big deficits, that is stressful on the body. That is not a process that the body takes on to very well. And because of that increased stress, you almost end up countering the effect that you were going for in the first place. We also know that when it comes to recovery and from all the training that people do, the effect of that gets dampened, of the training gets dampened when you don't really recover well, and stress is directly counterproductive to recovery. And stress doesn't just mean any sort of physical stress. It can be mental stress, it can be about work, it can be about life. All of these things fill into the same bucket, essentially, and the body cannot tell the difference, because for the body, stress is stress. So what are some things that people can do from a mental health perspective to reduce that psychological stress at the very least, so that their recovery can be a little more enhanced?
So I think my primary mode to de-stress is, like I mentioned, movement, specifically dancing freely, from an expression perspective, just not worrying about how you're looking or what steps you're doing, but just dancing freely. That's one of the best ways to really allow emotions to move through you, right? So if you say stress, that's a more generic term, but if you break it down, it's basically emotions, right? Fear, anxiety, sadness, whatever it might look like. And emotions need to move through the body. It is when they get stuck in the body is when you feel that something is off or you feel stressed, right? But if you allow that wave of emotion to just sort of move through the body, it doesn't get stuck. And movement is the best way to get it moving. It allows you to really release whatever you're feeling in the moment. And I think one of the best ways to notice this in the environment as well is if you see dogs, if they are overwhelmed, if they are anxious, they're going to shake. They just shake their body off and they release all of that built up energy. And why are we not doing that? Why are we not picking that up from them and incorporating it into our lives? Of course, we can't just get up and shake anywhere, but to have some time in the day where you are just moving your body so that you get the energy out and running. That is one of my go-to methods. But I think other than that, any sort of meditation. Now, meditation does not mean you have to sit for hours and not think about anything. It can just mean as simple as focusing on your breathing. It can also just mean that you're present with whatever you're doing. If you're cooking, you're just completely present with it. That is also meditation. Crocheting is meditation, right? Baking is meditation. All of these things are also forms of meditation because they get you in the present moment. And what I've noticed is, in fact, trekking can also be a beautiful form of meditation because you have to be completely present, because you have to watch your every step, otherwise you're going to fall and enjoy yourself. So anything that forces you to be in the present moment is meditation. So do anything that forces you to be in the present moment, and that can really help as well.
Right. So it's almost about coming back to where you're at, and instead of worrying about the future or the past or the things that you still have to do on your to do list, focusing on one thing at a time and doing what matters the most at hand right now. And that can help someone really center themselves and not be super stressed about other things in life. And then eventually that will have like a direct effect on improving recovery.
Yeah, definitely.
There is always a very big psychological barrier that I see that honestly, okay, this question is a little bit selfish. I'm going to put it out there. When I coach people, there's this unspoken psychological barrier that they face that neither are they nor am I able to put into words necessarily. They don't show up for training sessions, or they wake up early in the morning, they committed to a 7 a.m. Time, and they go back to sleep. And it prevents them from actually executing what they need to be executing the most. And maybe it's related to them not identifying themselves as someone who does those things. Maybe it's something else. But what are some psychological barriers that prevents people from actionating what they committed to? And how does one go about overcoming them?
Very interesting question. I think identity definitely plays a role. If you don't see yourself as someone who works out, as someone who's a healthy person, if that mental image is that I am very free with my routine, I just eat whatever I want, I like the freedom, then you are going to end up doing that even if you commit to a diet, even if you commit to an exercise program, because it just doesn't align with your identity. Now, another thing that I have also seen personally is that, and this is true for some people, it is true for not. It's a pure personality difference. That if it comes from a discipline angle, people are a little less likely to do it, right? Discipline can sometimes have a little bit of a negative connotation. So, and that is me as well. If you ask me to, just do it 5 times a week, and I'm just going to be like, no, this is too much of discipline and structure, and I don't like that. I think specifically women would not like so much of structure and discipline. But when I reframe discipline to devotion, that is when everything shifts. So usually I think from in the fitness industry, the go-to thing is hustle and force and discipline and
no pain,
all
no
of
gain
that
mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. But with some people it doesn't work.
I would say for most people it doesn't.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
What will work is if you come from a softer place of, can we do this out of love? Can we do this because you love your body, you want to be healthy, you want to maintain your body, not because you hate it, but because you actually love it. And yeah. So that reframe of devotion from that reframe of discipline versus devotion can really change it.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I've never heard that before, discipline to devotion. I usually say that discipline is something that helps you get through things you don't want to do. I showed up for the training session even though I did not want to. I made sure I took care of my finances even though I did not want to. But that inherently becomes unsustainable for most people. And no offense, David Goggins, but everyone has that hustle mode mindset that just doesn't work. And those people do tend to observe that they will continue something for a few weeks or a couple of months at most, and then they will completely slack off, and every few months they'll be starting over from scratch. And that's why that's something that doesn't help you stay consistent. So reframing the mentality of this is something I don't want to do to something that I want to do, something that I identify with, something that is innately natural to me. That helps them stay consistent, and that isn't discipline. That isn't even motivation. So there's always this dichotomy between discipline and motivation. It's a third thing that actually works, and that's identity. And this is something that I'm going to actually add on to identity, what you just mentioned, devotion, where identity can still become a very messed up thing for a lot of people, where they can eventually end up t- having a very negative mindset about themselves. Even though they still identify as someone who gets things done, they still be coming from a very negative place that just sees what is left to be done rather than what they've already done so far and using that as fuel. But if you come from a very devotional angle, as you mentioned, that can really make a big difference to how you can actually end up executing your training eventually.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. Let's get to some segments, right? The first segment is called Rant and Rave. Okay, so I want you to think about one thing that you see in the fitness industry in the current timeline that really scratches your ick, and you just do not like it, you absolutely hate it, and you wish to see less of it, or wish for it to go away. And then we'll make it full circle and we'll come to something that you want to see more of, that you see is happening right now, and that you think is amazing for everyone, and we're gonna rave about it. The floor is yours.
Okay. So I think I have two things that I don't like about that are going on. So one would be this whole ideology of pushing the body all the time, right? Get more reps in, get more in. And more is okay. But if I'm constantly pushing my body and I'm not listening to the signals it's giving me, which is probably stop or rest or eat more, then I don't think that it does any good, or rather it does more damage than good, right? So I really dislike how there's always this push of override your body signals and just do more, just do, lift heavier, do more. Yeah, you want to get to that point, but you don't want to constantly override your body. You don't want to kind of destroy that communication and that relationship with your body by constantly overriding it.
Yeah, it's not just an input system. It also gives you some feedback that you need to be listening to.
Yes, and you need to listen to it. It's there for a reason. The body is always communicating with you. So, but if you stop listening to it all the time, there will be two things. It will either stop communicating with you and then just show up with some big issue, or it will start screaming and then show maybe bigger symptoms and more issues, right? Like I was following some training routine, and I got some calf pain. It was quite mild, and I didn't alter my plan at all. I kept doing that, and the pain got really bad.
Right.
And I couldn't work out for a month. So, if you don't listen to it, it will kind of force you to slow things down or force you to do things differently. Right? This is not to scare anyone, but this is that listen to the body signals. It's there for a reason. Second thing that I'm not a fan of, but I don't dislike it too much, but I'm not a fan of, it can probably be changed, is I go to the gym and I see people walking on the treadmill, and they have a Netflix show or something going on. And I mean, I get it. I get that cardio can be boring and you need some mental stimulation. I get that. But I think it's also missing the point. Because for me, when I'm working out, when I'm doing cardio or strength, it is my time to connect with my body or to be present in my body and to feel that, it feels good to work out. Or you can probably listen to music, you can probably listen to a podcast, but if you're constantly watching that show, your presence is not there. in what you're doing.
Hopefully you're watching us on the treadmill right now.
Yeah, if your presence is just on that show completely, so I don't know, again, I don't think I have a very logical explanation as to why I don't like it, but yeah, I really don't like it.
That's all right. Yeah, one thing you want to rave about. You'd love to see.
I think the whole thing where we are having so many fitness events, fitness raves, and I think it's run and raves or
Yeah.
spinning events, or just so many fitness events that are happening where people come together and they're doing Pilates or they're doing yoga or they're doing spinning or whatever, they're doing something together. I think that's really nice because you're taking care of the social aspect of it as well, and it also kind of motivates you to just generally live a healthier life. So before, if someone used to probably drink on a Saturday night, now there is an event to go to Sunday morning, and you're less likely to do that, and you're more excited for the event because again, it has the social component, but you also know that you're doing something healthy, right?
Yeah.
You're not just out there partying, and
Yeah.
so I can really see that that shift in people moving from late night clubbing, drinking, to really wanting to be a part of these fitness events. So I think that is really good for someone who is already into fitness, because now you're doing it with people, and for someone who's not into fitness, because now you go here and you also realize that you're not at your very fittest.
Yeah.
And there is a FOMO component that comes in, that I want to be part of this, so I need to get myself healthier, I need to get myself fitter. Almost like a peer pressure thing as
Yeah.
well, right? You
Yeah.
want to blend in, you want to be part of the community. So yeah, I think that upcoming rise of fitness events is just really nice and good to see.
Yeah, I completely agree. I see a lot of these events happening all around, and at first I'm like, why are these happening? It seems like they're happening for the wrong reasons, because of Instagram, because of the peer pressure, and that's why people show up to them. But still, the fact that they're showing up to them is in and of itself extremely commendable, and that is what they need right now. And even if it may not be for the quote unquote right reason, uh, the hope is that eventually it lasts long enough, the trend lasts long enough, that they do fall in love with it and they do find some passion in it, and then move on to whatever reason that helps them stay in it for the long term while continuing to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is definitely not easy showing up for an event at 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning when you're used to living the opposite kind of lifestyle, when you're
Right.
used to waking up at 12, or you're used to having a late Saturday night. So it really helps shift your lifestyle as well in very subtle, small ways.
Yeah. Okay, this next segment, it's rapid fire. So
Okay.
here's 5 questions, and I don't want you to think.
Yeah. Okay.
I need you to answer instinctively and as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
First one, biggest mental health myth.
Oh, this is harder than I thought it would be. Biggest mental health myth would be that there is just one way to reach a certain destination. That if you're looking for happiness, there's one way to get it, or this is the right way to get it. I think every road leads to the same destination, no matter what you do, as long as you are doing something.
A mantra for days when there is no motivation.
I move because I love my body.
How does one avoid spiraling into guilt if they miss a workout?
You tell yourself that one day is not the end of the world. It's just one day, and you can always start tomorrow. Because if you go into that guilt cycle, then you're more likely to just not continue. You're more likely
Yeah.
to not do it at any point. Versus if you give yourself that grace कि ठीक है एक ही दिन है कोई इतनी
Yeah.
कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. I have a lifetime to. It's a lifetime practice. It's not a one day thing. It's not a
Exactly.
1 month thing. It's a lifetime thing.
Exactly. And if you're a consistent person, a one day dent in your schedule is not going to make that much of a difference, as long as it's
Absolutely.
happening pretty occasionally.
Yeah.
If it's becoming a consistent thing, then that's something to look into.
Yeah.
Signs someone's fitness goals and journey is harming their mental health.
Wow. I think the person will somehow know. There is this sense of this is getting too much, or I'm not enjoying it, or this is just, it feels off. That is how it usually comes up. That something feels off. So there can't be very typical signs, but I would suggest to notice that feeling that something is off and dig a little deeper and not just ignore it, not take it for laziness, but take it as something that is again communicating to you that something has to change.
What is a book or resource you always recommend to someone looking to work on their mental fitness?
There are so many books. I'm a very
You can recommend as many as you want.
So, if you really are interested in the mind-body connection, then The Body Keeps the Score is a good book to read. If you are looking for something a little more general, then The Power of Your Subconscious Mind is one of my favorite books. I think it's one of the most well-known books as well.
Yeah.
There is also You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, again one of my top book recommendations of all times.
Okay.
And I also want to mention one more book, which is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza. Beautiful book. It's a little in-depth. It's a little of a strong book, but
Right.
it's life-changing. It is absolutely life-changing.
Okay. Thank you for that. Aditi, if people want to find you, connect with you, get a consultation with you, where can they find you? How do they get in touch with you?
So I have my website. I am also on Instagram and YouTube.
Can you mention your website?
It's just aditigoel.com.
Okay.
Instagram is also there. I'm not very active on Instagram though, but YouTube, I talk a lot about all things growth, healing, personal development, feminine energy, manifestation. So you can check that out as well.
Okay, sure. We'll also link it in the show notes so
Yes.
people can redirect from there. And thank you for being here. And we hope to have you soon again someday. Thank you to everyone back home for tuning in and listening. If you got here, we really appreciate your time. Consider liking, subscribing, and sharing. And we'll be back soon. See you on the next one.